What's up, y'all? It's your boy Marcus Bullock. I'm the CEO and founder of Flick Shop, and I'm super excited to be able to have another conversation with you guys tonight, specifically around what it's like and what's necessary after incarceration. So there are tons of different terms that people use to talk about the needs for people after incarceration. I know I did a bid for all of you guys who have done time and made it out successfully. If you have a specific story that you can tell about your success after incarceration, I would love to hear from you. I have some amazing guests that's going to join me this evening to talk about what some of the needs are for people after incarceration and what traumas can come as a result of incarceration and how to be able to navigate through some of those traumas. So I'm going to go ahead and start letting our special guests in. And Rufus, and they're going to be talking about their perspective as they lead their organization over at OPJL. So I'm super excited to be able to have you guys join us. They should be hopping in a second. Make sure, oh yeah, look, as we go into this, please make sure you guys jump down in our in the comments to be able to make sure, you know, we are capturing all of what you guys are concerned about inside of these kind of conversations. These conversations are important, and it's important to be able to make sure that we're being thoughtful about weaving everybody inside of it. All of us have a voice in it, and we want to be able to make sure that we're being thoughtful about that. So they should be coming in a second. I'm super excited. Songbird 2019, super excited about this conversation. What's up, Jess? What's up, you guys? I'm waving back at y'all because, you know, I get pumped when people get an opportunity to be able to jump in these kind of conversations. I'm waiting for OPJL to jump in. All right, cool. They should be coming in any second. What's up, y'all? The Prison Wife Ministry, y'all joining in. Okay, he says they trying to get in. We having an issue with them joining in. Couture Kim, what's happening? How you doing? I'm super excited about all of y'all joining this conversation. What's happening? Dennis Fur, what's happening? See you joining in. What's going on? I can't wait for my folks over at OPJL to come on. Say they sent a request. Let's see. I'm gonna invite them on over. See if that helps out. CEO Raise, what's happening? All right. So while we waiting to join in, so let me welcome you guys back to another edition of Marcus Says while we wait for them to join in. So one of the reasons why we started having these conversations that a headline called Marcus X is simply because we wanted to be able to make sure that we were being thoughtful about having conversations that you guys wanted to have, right? And so many times there are these panel conversations or webinars or down in your courtrooms or your lawyers' offices or some of the organizations that don't have an opportunity to be able to like really get into the streets and to have conversations with the real people that are impacted by incarceration. Sometimes we feel as though we don't have our own space to be able to create our own tables to have these kind of, facilitate these kind of conversations. So I'm excited about being able to have them with you guys specifically. Now, the thing of it is that we have to be thoughtful about, how we deliver our messaging, how we're creating a level of empathy inside of the community, because I know that firsthand, one of the best ways for me to actually begin to create change inside of the community was specifically for me to be able to articulate my narrative in a way that was palatable for a rack of people. Now, I'm like pro-Black, and I understand the complexities of me being pro-Black and being a CEO of a company, and also knowing that a lot of the rooms that I walk into are not filled with people who look like me or come from neighborhoods I come from. So sometimes it's been challenging for me to be able to figure out how to be able to navigate inside of those rooms. Sometimes I feel like, I get boxed out and I get pushed inside of corners where my voice isn't as strong as the other people inside of the room, or have the same amount of influence in the people on the outside of the room. And so because of it, I'm like, yo, look, can we create space within our own community? Our community is deep enough, smart enough. We know how to build our own solutions because we've been inside of our own, you know what I mean, like issues. So like we get it, you know what I mean? Like we understand like how to be able to solve these problems. So now, look, let's do it on our own, right? And so I create these kinds of forums. That's why we build our own software, right? Because we want to create these kinds of forums with people. We can do it on our own and have our own, you know what I mean, that we can kind of sort of run. And then once we figure out how to do that and master it, then we can crush. All right, it looks like Chassie and Rufus, that we were able to get you guys on. What's happening, y'all? How you all?
We did it, finally. Wait, you got to squeeze in, honey. We did it, finally. Sorry, guys.
No worries.
We haven't done it.
No worries. We were just talking about this, right? Us having our own voices and our own spaces and safe places to be able to go and create environments for us to be able to build and bring our own solutions to the table. So I'm super excited that we can be one of the first to give you guys that kind of sort of that room to pull your chair to the table and bring us your own solutions.
Yeah.
Cool. So look,
Awesome.
I won't jump in. I won't take away any of the time from all of our amazing guests that's already tuned in. That's super excited about having this kind of conversation. So I'll jump straight in and ask you guys to introduce yourselves. Tell us in a little bit about who you are, how you came to this work, and then why these kinds of conversations, specifically around people dealing with post-incarceration issues, are important to you all.
You want to go first?
Beautiful.
Okay. So I'm Chazidy Bowman, and I am the CEO and founder of Opportunities People's Justice Leaders. Originally Ohio Prisoners Justice League, but because we believe in First People language, we changed our name because we wanted to give opportunities to people and have for them to be able to have justice and develop leaders. And so that's just a little bit about me, then I'll let you, and then we'll go a little bit deeper.
Okay, my name is Rufus Wayne Bowman. I am the CEO of OPJL. I got into this work because I'm directly impacted because I was previously incarcerated. I also have a men's and youth program called Stay Focused Movement, where we target urban and poverty-stricken communities around the Cincinnati and Hamilton area. And I guess I'll pass it back there. I guess we passing it back and forth.
So for y'all don't know, we're husband and wife. We met in 2016. He was already doing 2 years into a 9.5-year sentence when I met him. I didn't know that this world existed. I had no idea that these things were happening. And so that's how OPJL developed, was because we were just taking our experiences through incarceration and the things that we were facing and creating solutions for families so that they didn't have to experience the things that we were experiencing, not lack of information, lack of resources. And so we just became the source. We became the vessel.
And where are you guys located?
So that's what we do.
Okay. Cool,
we're located in Cincinnati, Ohio.
And talk to me a little bit, because, I'm in the Washington, D.C. area. In like Maryland, Northern Virginia, some of our folks are living in our communities. Talk to us about the landscape out there in Cincinnati. Like, what is it like for people that are coming home from prisons? Are there programs? Are there people? Or there communities? Are there organizations a lot like you all that in the area?
Yes and no. So there are other organizations that's kind of like us in our area, but far as programs and things like that, no, there's not really any programs for people who are coming back into society. So that's why me and my wife created our nonprofit and our programs in order to help those who are coming in, and also help the loved ones who are directly impacted from the person that they were with, as far as a son, mother, whoever. So I love Laura. She's more because she knows.
So there are reentry programs, but they're just that, reentry. They don't focus on the family dynamic. They also don't focus on the families who support people who are incarcerated. And so they don't focus on the mental health of folks who come home and the mental health of families of people that have supported people who are incarcerated. And so we developed spaces to where we cater to those needs. We cater to the family dynamic. We cater to what it looks like in the mental health spectrum, because, you know, being in prison, and from my experience, I supported my husband for 7.5 years. The prison him and the home him, those are two different people, because they're two different environments, right? And so learning what that adjustment is can be hard for people. It is hard, because now not only is he changing his dynamic of the way he lives, we're also changing the dynamic of the way that we live. You know, there's another person in the house. Like for me, there's all girls been in this house, you know, so now there's a male in the house. And so just trying to learn how to be free. And that's something that he said to me that resonated with me. I just have to learn how to be able to go outside freely. And so we pay attention to those small details that can trigger someone who's coming home, or the family member that don't understand, they just need their space, or they just need to be able to understand what it's like to feel the air on your face. And so we just pay attention to those small details, and then we filter that information out to our families.
Let me ask
those who
you a question. What was it like bringing a man into a house that's coming straight out of prison into a house with all girls, all women inside of the house?
I think for us, the transition, it's not been difficult, but it's just been like, we take it moment by moment, honestly. You know, we just kind of watch each other and learn each other's mannerisms, learn, you know, we're very verbal in our house, very verbal. So our motto is speak with your words, not your emotions. And so we utilize that. We're learning each other's habits. And so it wasn't as awkward as I thought it was going to be. But it is different, you know, and it's something that you have to think about. You know, it's been a lot of nights I've walked into a lifted up toilet seat. I'm like, what are you doing? You know? So, I mean, just normal things, you know, just trying to get used to those things. But all in all, it hasn't been that
And Rufus, how long you been home?
30 days.
32 days, man. Talk to me about some of the, what would have been some of the challenge. First of all, welcome home, bro. Like,
thank you. Appreciate it, man.
And how long were you gone? 9 years.
9 years.
9.5. Because he always leaves that half off.
That
half was
all those days. 9.5, extra 2 days and 7 hours. You know, we be all the time. What has been one of the biggest challenges for you since you've been home, as someone who's been only home for a little over 30 days?
The biggest challenge for me is just being free. Like what we were just really speaking about, it's just like I can go outside when I want to. I can just walk down the street. She asked me the other day, why is you walking down the street in the rain? Because I'm free. Like it just, you know, like just transitioning home, just being like normal. You know, when a person looking at you, they ain't looking at you like inmate. It's like, how you doing, neighbor? It's just, you know, it's different.
What is the one thing that surprised you the most?
It's different. The one thing that surprised me the most, my wife cooking.
I love that. Yeah. Nah, that's what's up.
For real. Like, cause I used to see the pictures and stuff like that, and I used to be like, all right, it looked good. You know, we in the penitentiary, so we like, it looked good. Like, and then I came home and it was banging. And I was like, cause I was expecting it to look good but taste like nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like
he didn't have no hope in me, did he?
I did though. Like I'm like, it gotta be something some flaw, because she's just a great woman, you know. Like, so I'm like, her cooking might not be all that good. It look good, it might not be all that good.
One of the things that I have inside of my notes here when we were wanting to invite you guys as a guest is that you guys use this phrase, normalize loving people unconditionally. Why is that phrase so important to you?
So for me, so there's a couple terms I don't go by. I'm not a prison wife. I don't want to be identified as a prison wife because I didn't marry a prison. I married a man. And so whenever we start to put these labels out there, then it causes people to judge, our relationship, right? Because like if you see us right now out about, oh, they're a great looking couple. But when he was behind those walls, I was desperate. I couldn't get a man, or, all these stigmas that go with it. And so I proudly say, I met him in 2016. I got married in Ohio State Penitentiary. I proudly say that, you know why? Because I married him. And because I married him, I married and stepped into my purpose, right? And so we are very vocal about our relationship because we want other people to know that regardless of where they are, whether they're homeless, they're addicted, they're in prison, whatever it is, you still got to love anyway. You still got to serve the people anyway. I gave him an analogy the other night because I started to see on Facebook a lot of people have pit bulls now or bully breeds, and they're on our dog food commercials. But used to, when you say the word pit bull, people got afraid and they stood back like, no, it's the most dangerous animal ever. But when people started to humanize this animal and they started to humanize what pit bulls were, and more people started to interact with them, and they stopped calling them vicious but called them pit bulls, and they changed the narrative, then people began to respect that. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change the narrative to say, if your son is incarcerated, say he's incarcerated. It doesn't make him not your son. He's just incarcerated, So we want to break down those barriers, so the shame and the embarrassment that comes behind it because of where they are. And so we just love unconditionally. Even when people come to us for our services, we don't ask, what did you do? We don't pry into all, because it's not our business. Our business is to serve the people. That's what God gave us to do, and that's our mission. And so we don't judge by anything, because a lot of people can look at him and say, well, you have felonious assault, armed robbery, and you're this and you're that, but he's a man. And that's what I wanted people to see. I didn't want people to tell him no based off of what they seen in front of him. I wanted them to tell him no because they got to know him and know that he's smart, that he's brilliant, he's talented, and that he has something to bring to the table. And so that's the narrative we're trying to build for the families.
This is dope. I appreciate that. I love when folks talk about the desire to want to erase stigma or change the perception of a group of people, because you're right. Like, folks put these blocks on folks, and these labels will force you to kind of sort of feel ashamed and embarrassed, and you like, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about the person. And then this creates a disconnect from the relationship, and strain. And then over the years, it fails all of us, right? Not only our families, but our little ones, our younger ones, the folks who don't even, haven't got an opportunity to build a relationship with the folks who may be incarcerated, like the community, like it fails everybody. And so I'm so grateful that you guys have been thoughtful about this. What is it that you want the community to understand about the work that you guys are doing specifically in your neighborhood, and what is the real impact that you hope to be able to create with the organization?
So what we want people to know in our neighborhood is, one, we're here. A lot of times there's resources, but they don't know that they're available. So we have two programs. One is called POW, Protect Our Women. It's a women's program for formerly incarcerated, directly impacted women. And then we have Stay Focused Movement, and they're both mentorship programs, and they're 6-week courses, and we take applications on a rolling basis. And then we also have Gifts Beyond the Gates at the end of the year for our members. And it is a Christmas program, but it's not just about giving gifts. So what we do is we host an event We set up video visitation because when he was incarcerated, he wasn't eligible for the Angel Tree because my kids aren't biologically his, so he was denied. And so I said, okay, they don't want you to be at the table. We'll create one. So we created Gifts Beyond the Gates. We set up video visitation so that they can have Christmas together with their mom and dad, not from OPJL. And so those are 3 things that we're really proud of, as well as post-incarceration syndrome research that we're doing with Universities of Cincinnati School of Medicine and Children's Hospital, and now Kent State University. So that's really growing, just to help folks be able to understand the mental health of people who are coming home and us. Because when he first came home, and I have to say this, and I know we're pressed for time, but I couldn't deal with calling him.
Yes. I had to still call her.
He had to call me.
I had to still call her.
I had a panic attack.
And I used to tell her, like, won't you just call me? She refused.
Wow.
No, you was calling me, and she'll call me now.
Because I couldn't. It was, and it made me angry because I said I wasn't incarcerated, but I was. What? I was, and I did give them permission because, and the isolation, like now, it's still hard for me to go out and be outside. So I have to force myself to do these things. And so a lot of people don't think about that. When their loved one's coming home, they're thinking about, oh, he's coming home. That's not it. That's the beginning. Forget everything about him when he was in there. Forget all of that. Throw it away. Start fresh. Start new. And so these are things that because this is where we're at in our journey, you know. And so we're just learning as we go, and we want to just offer this same support to other people to say, you know, we're not hating and we're not telling you that your relationship ain't going to work, but marriage is hard. But it's even harder when you're dealing with the element of literally retraining your mind to get back to societal ways that's been stripped from them and you. So yeah. So that's what we want.
It's such an important message to be able to have. You talk a lot about PICs, and for those of us who don't know what post-incarceration syndrome is, can you briefly tell us how would you define post-incarceration syndrome, and what can we do to be able to support folks who may be suffering from this?
So post-incarceration syndrome, or PICS /C, is a mental disorder that has not been deemed its own disorder yet, and that's the purpose of our research. But we're trying to get it disassociated from PTSD, because PTSD and PICS are 2 different things. So somebody that went to war cannot have the experience that someone did in prison. Although there are similarities, they're not the same. So what we're tracking is what we're tracking through our research are like the behaviors, the triggers, you know, that people who are incarcerated face. So we did a panel at a national conference, and we had a gentleman say, you know, when I was in prison, the only thing I had to worry about was getting stabbed, even though it's bad, but getting stabbed, going to chow, coming back. Like, I had an order. There was only certain things I had to worry about. But when they come home, the sound of traffic may be too traumatic. Just how technology works may be too traumatic. And then there's triggers that you have that's causing people to recidivize because it's too much at one time. The world is too much at one time. And so they would rather commit an offense and go back to prison than have to deal with all this out here. So the purpose of PICS is to have it deemed as its own disorder so that we can train our mental health professionals strictly with PICS, so that people who have been incarcerated, families who support people incarcerated, can receive the help and the diagnosis that they need in order to be successful in society.
I'm so grateful that you guys came in and joined us. Hey, listen, guys, if you guys are just tuning in, one of the conversations that I'm super pumped to be able to have is what it takes in order to be able to survive after incarceration. We have a series of them on these episodes of Marcus Asks, but specifically tonight, I'm excited to have now Chazidy and Rufus to have join us in this conversation, and specifically to be able to talk about their own journey of bringing someone back into their home after something from incarceration, and then welcoming them back, right, with unconditional love. Like, that's their words, not mine, right? With welcoming back with unconditional love, no matter what the complications are around the home dynamic, what the complications are around some of the traumatic experiences that they may have as a result of being incarcerated. We also talked a little bit about post-incarceration syndrome and what that differentiates that between PTSD. We had those kind of sort of those comparisons between people that have been to war and people who have been incarcerated all of the time, but bringing a little bit more clarity around that and how one group's research is going to be able to help influence that conversation is always something that I'm super pumped to be able to talk about. Chazidy and Rufus, I'm super grateful for you guys joining me on another edition of Marcus Asks. Rufus, look, you just came home, you know what I mean? You just been home for a minute. I'm gonna let you close this out after being home for 30 days. Give me some advice that you would have to someone who's just coming back home. What would you tell them? Like, yo, they just came home this morning. What would you tell them, and what should they be prepared for their next 30 days?
I just tell them to take your time. It's a marathon, it's not a race. So just take your time and just enjoy the small things of life that was just taken from you. It's not a rush. It's not a competition. It's not anything. It's a you thing and making you better. So for the brother that's coming home or the sister that's coming home, just take your time. There's no pressure. We already got the pressure off our back now.
So, I mean, when you leave out of that building, you can strip that inmate, that whatever number, the clothing, the shower shoes, all of it. You can leave it back in the bag. Like, yeah.
It's over with, pimp. After that, it's over with. It's nothing else. It's you again. You back you again.
Ain't
you ain't that number.
No DOC number. None of that. So let's go.
None of that.
Thank you guys so much for joining me for another edition of Marcus Asks. I really appreciate you guys all the way up from Cincy.
Thank you.
Later. Thank you guys for joining us for another edition of Marcus Asks. I'll see you guys on the next one.
All right.